Welcome to your friendly neighborhood historian, where we discuss just enough history to inform, intrigue, and entertain. I'm Bill Petro. The history of Starkbier Fest. Starkbier Fest is a public celebration throughout March this year, though some beer gardens began in February. The heart of this festival is in Munich, Germany, specifically at Paulaner Brewery, where it all began. This year, the first keg tapping begins at the Donsil restaurant in Munich on March 14th, marking the official beginning of the festival season. The celebration runs from March 14th through April 4th. Different breweries run their celebrations on varied dates. In a few ways, it is unlike its more well-known sibling, Oktoberfest. It's not widely known outside of Germany, and Munich in particular, except to German expats or beer lovers, or historians who have visited Munich in the spring. Perhaps half a dozen locations in Munich celebrate it, including restaurants and breweries. What is Starkbierfest? It's the festival for Starkbier. What is Starkbier? It's German for strong beer. What is strong beer? Some assume the name refers to its higher alcohol content, but that's not the primary reason, though it is more alcoholic, between 6.5% and 14% by volume, not your father's 3.5% beer. Instead, however, the name is due to the higher gravity of the beer, with its concentration of solids like proteins, starches, and sugars, also known as the wort, or in German, the Wort. Starkbier contains about 180 ounces of solids, equivalent to a third of a loaf of bread. The monks who created it originally called it liquid bread. It's liquid nourishment. When did it start? The story goes back to the monks of Munich. Indeed, the German word for the city, München, means by the monks, referring to the Benedictine monks who ran a monastery in what is now the old town of Munich. At the beginning of the 17th century, the Paulaner monks of Munich, in observance of the 40 days of Lent, known as the fifth season in Germany, did not eat during the daylight part of the day. For years, they had been brewing beer, so they turned to creating a strong beer that was particularly rich in nutrients, especially for serving during Lent. Now, they were allowed to consume this during the daylight hours due to the eventual decision in 1662 by Pope Alexander VII, who said, "Liquidum non frangit jejunum," which in English means, liquid does not break the fast. Starkbier could curb their appetites during the day. It only took a few decades before other Munichers tapped kegs of Starkbier and instituted annual local celebrations. The clever Paulaner monks did this without violating the purity laws of 1516, which required all beers brewed in Germany to be made with only water, hops, malt, and yeast. But what if the current pope should disapprove? While liquid does not break fasting, that applied to chocolate, which was consumed back then as a drink. The monks wanted to make sure about this beer. So they sent a barrel of the rich malty Doppelbock to the Pope in Rome for his benediction. The trouble began with a long journey from Bavaria to Italy across the high Alps. By the time the beer arrived, it was sour and spoiled. When the Pope tasted it, he found it so terrible that he assumed it must have been intended for some form of penance. He told them that, hey, if you want to drink this strong beer, you're welcome to do so. They were permitted to fill their tankards 5 times a day with the brew, but their tankards were a liter or two in size. In 1751, the Paulaner monks created the Holy Father beer for the namesake of their religious founder, Franz von Paula, or Francis of Paula, after the namesake of the Paulaner monks. And Sanktvater, or sacred water, soon became known as Salvator. In the 1780s, laws changed, making the monk's beer available to the public. Beer prices climbed until 1888, when a fight broke out, with celebrants drawing swords and walking sticks and using their heavy ceramic beer mugs, known as steins, as weapons. Things have calmed down a bit more in recent years, with far less saber rattling. The Starkbiers have a variety of different names. They typically end in ator, giving them a strong dinosaur-like name. So Salvator by Paulander is the father of the Doppelbock beers. Triumphator by Löwenbräu, Maximator by Augustina, Aviator by Airbrow, which is out at the airport, Delicator by Hofbrau, Suffocator, Predator, Optimator, Speculator, Delicatior, all these different names that sound so strong and powerful. The event traditionally occurs annually in Munich. It's not held in the traditional festival grounds of Oktoberfest. Instead, it's in the local breweries or restaurants. So Paulander, the first tap and one of the largest beer halls in the city, holding 5,000 people inside and a few thousand outside under tent coverings. Löwenbräu Keller has long tables. Augustina Keller is another place where Starkbierfest is held. In 2003, I was speaking in Munich for work. The local office invited me out to Löwenbräu Keller for the Starkbierfest. I knew very little German then and understood the words Bier and Löwenbräu, but not by the German pronunciation. Löwenbräu in America is pronounced Lowenbräu. We got to the brewery at 6 p.m. The ballroom is one of the larger event spaces in Munich and holds about 2,000 people. They started us with lighter beer to fortify us for the stronger stuff. Long tables filled with people of all ages lined them, and they got started with glasses of beer the size of a 55-gallon drum. These vessels were called steins. Now, I knew that Stein meant stone, and that is what people were soon becoming. The band that was playing was dressed in traditional lederhosen, started with traditional German music. There were axes and whips and things I did not understand. The locals began to sing along with the German songs. When the Starkbier emerged, the signature 7.6% alcohol Triumphator, it was thick, rich, malty, slightly sweet, and almost chocolatey. The crowd became more animated. Another band came out, and the music changed to American rock and roll. Everyone knew all the words. By the end of the evening, we were dancing on tabletops with complete strangers and singing Twist and Shout in English. Yet another band ended the evening with You Can Leave Your Hat On, a song written by American musician Randy Newman and featured in the British movie The Full Monty, where at the end of the movie, the performers, the men, they dropped their pants. This band then did the same thing at midnight. Thank you for listening. I'm Bill Petro, your friendly neighborhood historian. You can find more details on this topic and others on my website at billpetro.com.